Hey guys, thanks for watching this video on the distributive property. The distributive property in its generic form looks like this. A times the quantity of B plus C equals A times B plus A times C. So all that means is that we are taking whatever number or variable is in front of the parentheses, in this case A, and we are going to multiply that A times everything inside that parenthesis. And then we can keep that same operation. So if it's a plus sign there, it should be a plus sign here, as long as we don't have any tricky negatives, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We could have the same situation with subtraction. So the quantity, A times the quantity of B minus C equals A times B minus A times C. So it sounds kind of complicated when you look at it with all letters, but when we throw some numbers in there, it's not too bad. Okay, so first example, we have 3 times the quantity of 5 plus 2. Now, if we followed order of operations here, we know that we could say 3, this is the same as 3 times 5 plus 2 is 7. And so that should give me 21. Right, so when I do this, I should get an answer of 21, but I'm going to show you the distributive property with this problem. Okay, so we have 3 times 5, which is 15, and 3 times 2, which is 6. So now 15 plus 6, which is 21. So you can check yourself with doing it this way, or do the distributive property this way. Let's look at another example. Okay, so this one's subtraction. We have 4 times the quantity of 6 minus 1. So we say 4 times 6, which is 24. 4 times 1, which is 4. Keep that subtraction sign. And 24 minus 4 is 20. Okay, so sometimes there are negatives that can throw us off sometimes. So let's look at a couple examples of that. Okay, so this time we have a negative 2 that's being multiplied. So as long as you follow your rules for multiplying positives and negative integers, things should come out just fine. So we say negative 2 times 7, which is negative 14, and negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4. So because that was a negative 4, it changed my plus sign to a minus sign. So negative 14 minus 4 is negative 18. And to check ourselves, just because of all that negative issue might have been confusing, so we could do order of operations here. Say 7 plus 2 is 9, and negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. So I know that that came out right. Okay, this time there's not a number, but a little minus sign in front of the parentheses. So I want you to kind of imagine that that's a 1. So we're going to do the same thing, treating that negative as if it were a negative 1. So negative 1 times 8, and negative 1 times negative 5, which is positive 5. And negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Okay, so you might be thinking, why would you ever need the distributive property if you can just do order of operations? And to answer that, sometimes we have variables that can cause an issue with doing order of operations that way. Sometimes you can't add things together, and so you have to use the distributive property. So it becomes really useful when we're simplifying expressions and solving equations. Okay, here's an example. We actually could do order of operations on this one, but we'll do distributive property anyway. So we have 2x that's getting multiplied to a 4 and getting multiplied to a 3. So that becomes 8x plus 6x. Because these both just have an x, they are like terms, and we can combine those to 14x. Okay, and we could have said 4 plus 3 is 7. And 2 times 7 is 14, so 14x. So you could have done it that way. This one, though, you cannot do that way because x and 3 are not like terms. We can't add them together. So the only way to simplify this one is to do the distributive property. So it looks something like this. Negative 5 times x, and negative 5 times positive 3 give you negative 15x minus 15. Those two terms are not like terms because the 15 does not have an x. So we're done with that problem. That is as far as you can go with that one. Okay, so I want you guys to try this one. And just pause the video and try to work that one out, and then I'll go over it as soon as you hit play, and we'll see how you did. Okay, so hopefully you've worked through that one. And this is what you should have. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Negative 7 times positive 2y would be negative 14y. Hopefully you stop there because those are not like terms. They have different variables, so we have to leave it alone. It's as good as it gets. So hopefully you got that one right and you are now ready to practice the distributive property.